Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. My name is Alexandra Guerrero, and I'm the Patient Services Manager at the ALS Society of BC. Welcome to the Patient Information Webinar Series 11. Please note that today's session is being recorded and will be posted on the ALS BC website for future viewing. We will have time for questions and answers during the presentations. Please submit your questions using the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. All the questions are anonymous, so please feel free to ask. If you don't see the Q&A button, just press on the screen more and you will see that. Our Patient Information Webinar Series is proudly presented by Shanelle Canada, Inc. Today, we're pleased to welcome Shanelle Gilman, is the Community Manager for Makers Making Change. Makers Making Change is a program of Neil Squire that offers an online platform providing a low-cost alternative to commercially available assistive technologies. With a wide range of devices available in the assistive devices library, there are many options for people to request from and work with a volunteer maker who can build it for them. Every device design contributed by the Makers Making Change community and by the organization is open resource. Anyone can freely download the files and information to build their own device. To help keep the cost low, they leverage volunteer makers to build assistive technology. I would like to thank you, Shanelle, for taking the time to present today.
Wonderful. Thank you for having me. So what today is going to look like is we're going to run through some background information, talking a little bit about the program, and then I'm going to kind of do like a live demo of the website to walk you guys through resources and how to access the information and different things like that. I'll try to be a slower talker than I usually am. And if you feel like I'm skipping things or different things like that, please put any questions into the chat. And I'll kind of I have it up on my screen, but I might leave them all for the end, and getting some information from you guys also on what else you'd like to see about the program. So to get started here, a little bit of the history. So I work in the Makers Making Change program of the Neil Squire not-for-profit organization. So a little bit of a background, if you haven't heard. Neil Squire, you could kind of almost consider him like our first client. So Neil was attending the University of Victoria back in the 1980s, and then he was in a car accident where he sustained a C1 brainstem injury. So Neil was paralyzed from the neck down, unable to move his arms, his legs, unable to breathe independently, had a trach, and difficulty with limited ability to speak. So Neil had a relative named Bill, who at this time was working with some other engineering students who kind of had this idea of like, I wonder if there's something new that we could create or design that could help give Neil some independence. So what we're seeing on the screen here in this photo is the straw going to Neil's mouth and a cord coming down and hooking to the Mac computer. Neil still had a little bit of movement in his mouth. So if you want to think of a breath in, breath out, so if you think of like an inhale and an exhale, that got coded into Morse code, which was able to give Neil a way to communicate independently again post-accident. Now, Neil passed away a few years after this, but this idea of supporting Canadians living with disabilities, it's how we got our name and the mission statement we continue to do. So if you Google Neil Squire and kind of get some information, you're going to see we have a few different programs. So again, I'll just briefly kind of highlight this and then jump into Makers Making Change specifically. But our work is really focused in 4 distinct areas. So digital literacy, which would maybe be training on how to use like your computer, your iPad, your tablet, any of those types of literacy skills for digital access. We have an employment program, so helping someone who self-identifies with a disability or a barrier 15 and over, whether it's getting a summer job or a full-time job or kind of getting into the workforce again. And then the assistive technology side is if there's any training required to use different types of assistive tech, or on the flip side, if it's kind of figuring out what someone's role is and what assistive tech would maybe help them be successful in their career choices. Innovation is where Makers Making Change will fall under, and that program will highlight today. And then lastly is collaboration. So collaboration through all of the programs, collaboration with other programs like you guys, just trying to get the information out about services available. Kind of seeing the gear in its whole. This is our logo, and then Neil Squire's mission statement is we use technology, knowledge, and passion to empower Canadians with disabilities. So, Neil Squire's vision is definitely to achieve economic and social inclusiveness for all people with disabilities. And then the unique thing about Makers, as you kind of heard in that synopsis at the beginning, is that we're unique in that we kind of leverage the community to help get devices out, help with maybe the documentation or the building or the different steps like that, with getting devices out and the information for them. So, why Makers Making Change really started. We see all the time how assistive technology can have a huge markup, sometimes upwards of like that 300% when it's purchased commercially. So it kind of was just presented of like, well, what other materials or supplies or different things can we be doing to help bring down the cost? So one of the things that they kind of was around this idea of like 3D printing. It's like, if I could make something and how much that would be cost savings. And then on the flip side, how many people are using assistive devices? So this is an older survey now, but they kind of say that 80% of Canadians will at some point need an assistive device. So this idea of like, well, what other things can we do to help make it more accessible, help share this information and resources out? So what Makers Making Change really started with, it was this idea of like, how can we maybe put some devices out there that are using different materials, but also trying to provide all of the information for it under this like open source idea. So it really started with the Makers Making Change website, where we still today host this online assistive device library. Now, the few different ways that you can engage with this is you can go onto the website and you can just explore the assistive devices that live on the website currently. We have about 200 devices right now. And then you can kind of select this like, I need this device button. From a maker standpoint, they can review that running list and they could say, hey, I could build this item for you and attach themselves to it. With this process, how we kind of describe the website is it's very much set up with this like fee for service. So it's paying the maker the cost of materials to get that device and having that kind of connection live where a requestee and a maker can communicate with each other. We also have a section called design challenges. So a lot of the items in our library start with this idea of like, I wish a device existed that could do X. And so this idea of what devices are needed, getting that community feedback, kind of getting some ideas and seeing and just being able to share that out with tinkerers, volunteers, people who like to CAD model, all of those different skills to maybe see if they can work together to come up with new solutions, as well as just a resources network on different things, whether it's soldering for your first time to setting up your first gaming station. We try to provide the website with as much material to help support anyone, whether they're a maker or a requester, just trying to get more information. Some other things that have really been able to help us run this program over the last few years is our STEM with Purpose. So we've had some government funding where we're able to go into classrooms and teach STEM-based skills in a way that students, rather than building something that they would take home, they're actually building something that we're able to donate back into the community. So we talk to them about wire stripping and building and assembling, but they're making items that are needed in the community. And this year as well, we also have our Clubs That Care program where youth leaders are able to apply for a microgrant to build items themselves and get them out to the community. The last two programs that are on this slide is our Hacking for the Holidays, which is a big campaign that we run every September to December, where we fundraise money to be able to deliver adapted toys and switches at no cost to families. And then our game program, Gaming Accessibility Made for Everyone, whether that's resources on getting your own gaming set up or learning about the game checkpoint centers that are located across Canada to be able to go in and trial adaptive gaming and exploring the gaming resources. Okay, so as I kind of described, there's a couple different ways Makers Making Change can work. Visiting the website and connecting with your volunteer maker is always up and running. And it's kind of unique because as much as we're a Canadian national not-for-profit, assistive tech is needed everywhere. So we have some volunteer makers and requestees all around the world, kind of submitting those ideas and being able to connect and interact with each other. The big thing with this side is remembering its cost of materials. Sometimes shipping can be that other thing that comes with this, and that it's very much run between the requestee and the maker, and kind of helping just being that pillar that helps with that connection, as well as submitting those new ideas. On the flip side, like I mentioned, kind of with those youth events are these ideas of build events. So when we know a device is popular in the community that requires a little bit more to the build, so like soldering, glue guns, wire stripping, like all of those extra steps, we often do these things called build events where we bring a group of people together. So that can either be a community volunteers, it could be a corporation, or it could be students in a classroom. And we teach these skills where the group together is all building the items, and then we have 20 plus of them or a certain number that we're able to help donate, get those devices out into the community. So it can kind of run two different ways, with the website being the primary focus, but then us being able to kind of leverage community members to come together and build items. So this photo kind of is just meant to highlight what that STEM event can look like. So on the screen here, you're seeing a table filled with tools and soldering irons and instructions, and how we kind of walk through this is like we go step by step and teach the group those different skills if they're wire stripping for the first time and different things like that to build an adaptive device. They get to test them out at the end, make sure they're all working, and then we're able to give them out to the community. And a little bit more about our Clubs That Care program. We're just wrapping up year 2 of this program, but how it's set up is that a youth leader, so someone between the ages of 15 and 30, can apply for a micro grant of $3,000, where their goals and their outcomes to us are to engage 10 people in their community and then build and deliver 20 assistive devices across Canada. So with this $3,000, they could be purchasing their own 3D printer, the materials, all of the costs associated with the devices that they're delivering out across Canada. So this is a great way where we're, again, able to utilize community members to just help get the devices out to Canadians. A little bit about the impact. So I know these slides are a little bit outdated now, but we can kind of see that with our few different funding programs that we've delivered over 20,000 devices. With that STEM with Purpose being able to go into classrooms, we're over 300 now, where we're able to utilize students, help them engage in use their STEM skills, but being able to help deliver items. And then we have these game checkpoint centers all across Canada as well, where they're kind of set up as spaces for community members to come and see and trial adaptive gaming equipment and see about getting their own gaming setups. Again, just kind of highlighting some of our funders. And then the bread and butter. What we wanted to do here is give you guys some examples of different pieces of what is in our library, right? The question you're probably all asking. So I kind of broke it into a few different categories. So low tech, what we're seeing on the screen here is a device to go around the cap of a bottle opener with a different way to grip to be able to open up caps of bottles. We often refer to this as like low tech aids to daily living. These are often devices that maybe just need to be 3D printed, or they might just need a little bit of hardware like a screw, some Velcro, or different things like that to finish off that assembly process. From there, we see assistive switches. I want you to imagine this like a button, like this would be an alternative way to turn something on and off by pressing down. So we have a variation of different switches, whether it's sizes, different use cases like that, to be able to match the end user's capabilities, whether they're mounting with head access on a lap tray, with their feet, like the different ways they maybe would be engaging with items. The last one on the top row is a remote control car. So this is kind of related to that Hacking for the Holidays program, where we take a toy, recognizing that it might be difficult for some users to be able to reach out, whether they have to squeeze the belly of the toy or turn a lever on and off. And so we open up that toy. In the RC cars, we're actually opening up the controller. The car kind of stays its own. And we modify it to be switch accessible. So we open it up, We solder in external jacks that those switches are now able to be plugged into. Again, thinking of the end user and the different way now that they would be able to engage and turn that toy on and off. Moving into the bottom row, you see our joysticks. So thinking of this as a device that can be a different variation of a mouse for computer access, or as well be the controller that is running your controller up and down the field, or the different controls to play a video game. In the middle bottom, it's a gaming adaptation. So device things that can be added to a standard controller to be modified to make access a little bit easier or look a little bit different. So what we have on the screen there is a standard controller where we have these things called trigger extenders. So rather than being able to reach all the way around, we have a 3D print that brings them more to the side for just a different access point. And then finally on the screen is our device called a lip sync. You can kind of describe this one as like our flagship device. So when we were starting out as a program, we entered a Google grant competition with this device as a lip sync, and we kind of refer to this as like another version of a mouth-operated mouse. Kind of similar to Neil, how he used that sip and puff control. So with our lip sync, there's like that yellow straw coming out. Imagine that going to your mouth, and then up, down, side to side. Imagine your cursor moving across your computer screen. And then that sip and puff, think that breath in, breath out, is coded to be your right click or your left click of your mouse. Now, this wasn't what our lip sync looked like originally. It's gone through a few different renditions, but currently it's like we have the lip sync, which would be up mounted at someone's mouth. And then we have this device called a hub, which is able to allow for customization with scroll speed, all of those different changes, as well as it gives the user the ability to move through Bluetooth mode, a USB mode, to be able to be plugged in as a mouth-operated joystick as well. Okay, so now I just wanted to provide a little bit more details of some low-tech examples. So our first one, and I'm going to kind of stop sharing my screen and show you guys some of these in use, but the first one we're seeing here is an adaptive device that is able to alter how we would bring in like our grocery bags or those reusable bags. So just the different ways we can use the hooks to bring them in. Then we're seeing in the middle an example of a different way to be able to turn to unlock like a key in a door. So just like that wider surface area to kind of use all of our hands rather than the fine motor of just a singular key. The bottle opener again, which we saw on the last screen. On the bottom row, you're seeing a reading bar. So it helps with like isolating a single line of text at a time to be able to read through a page. In the middle one, you see a device. It's called Flipper the Clipper. It allows for nail clippers to live in the device, and then you being able to press down on the device to be able to clip your fingernails independently. And then we have a version of like a rounded ball with a pen kind of shoved in the middle of it, of this different way to be able to grip and hold a writing utensil. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to just stop sharing my screen for a second. And I'm going to jump into just showing you guys some of those devices, just so you can kind of see size references and different things. So this is that bag carrier that we were talking about, being able to grip and have those two prongs to be able to rest and put grocery bags on. That version of different ways of a writing aid. So this is that way to be able to hold and grip pens. The cool thing about open source and the way these files are is they're never a finished file. So if you printed this device and you're like, it's a little bit big for me, being able to make those modifications for the end user. And for a device like this, there actually is like a couple files of the different sizes already, but knowing that these alterations can happen and like the different ways that we can utilize them. For this one, there's a little hook on the end here. Thinking if this is able to latch into like a pop can to be able to pull up the can and open the bottle. For this device, there's like little teeth that we can see in the 3D print. This is called a tube opener. So I want you to think of like caps for toothpaste or vanilla or any of those smaller bottles, being able to slide it on and have that larger grip to be able to turn and open. This one has like a little piece here you can catch, and you can notice that I'm able to press down. So this is called the blister pack opener. So being able to set a medicine on that spot to be able to press through the carrier And then this be kind of like your little dumping ground where your pill is going to be able to sit to be able to pop out of your packaging. This one is called the seatbelt release aid. So you can kind of notice it's the shape, but being able to think of that different way to grip to be able to press down and release the seatbelt of your car. The last one I have here was this one. So this is called the signature guard. So being able to see the different spots if you wanted to lay this down when you have to sign documents or different things like that. And when I'm highlighting these devices, I really want you guys to be thinking about like this idea of how they came to the library, right? A lot of them were, I need a device that can help me with X. So specifically for the signature guard, it was really used by an end user that was experiencing tremors, and they found always going to the bank or these different places where they had to sign things. And you might notice that this one is kind of the same size as a credit card. So that was a piece that they shared. They're like, it'd be really nice if I'd be able to just slide it into my wallet so that it always have it on me when I need to sign these documents or those different things like that. So how community members can provide this insight of what they're looking for to be able to kind of get to that end style of device. Okay, don't think I see any questions yet. That's great. I'll just keep chatting. I'm going to flip here to just showing you guys the website a little bit. So if you visit our Makers Making Change library, this is what you're going to see. So we try to provide all of those initiatives on the home screen of the different ways you can get involved, different resources. But what we might be exploring a little bit is our assistive device library. So when you kind of come into this home screen, you're going to notice that we have some different device types and categories that you can use down the sidebar here. That's going to kind of change what you're seeing. There's a search function. All of our devices are kind of sorted with this recently added, but you can kind of change those different things to find a specific device. And like I said, we are trying to provide all of the information. So if you clicked into this under the device information, as a requestee, this is maybe what we're looking at. Like, well, how is this device going to be used? What is it going to help me with? How much is it going to cost? We try to provide a few different images of what they're going to look like. And then on the maker side, we are providing all of the information on how to build this. So if you knew someone with a 3D printer, you knew someone who could benefit from this device, you can kind of look under this, being able to see how long is it going to take? What's my assembly time? What are all the tools I would need? And then a little bit about the instructions. So when you are signed in to your MMC account, like you're seeing I am in the top right-hand corner here, we could explore the project files. So if we click into this, again, thinking that everything is open source on the website, we're providing all of this information out. You could click into the build files, and then these are all of our STLs. STL is the file of a format of a device to go on a 3D printer. So you can kind of see this is what that device is going to look like. I can download the file and I can put this on my 3D printer bed and start printing these files off. We also try to provide all of the documentation, like those frequently asked questions, you can kind of think of them as. So the BOM, this is our bill list of materials. So this is going to tell you, well, what else do I have to buy in order to build and assemble this device? So we can still see all of our 3D prints. It's going to tell us we don't need any tools to build this one, but we would need that felting needle, that one thing that is not able to be 3D printed. And then we provide where did we get it, the instructions, everything like that. Then if we look at our maker guide, this is going to walk us through, as the maker, what do I have to do to assemble this item? So we can kind of see that snapshot. What are all my parts going to look like? And then it's almost like step-by-step instructions to walk us through that building and assembling piece to kind of get that finalized device. And lastly, we try to provide these things called user guides. So what type of information would be helpful to the end recipient about how to use the device and different things like that for the item. So different things like that are provided under all of the adaptive devices in our assistive device library. So providing all of this information out there, whether you're the maker, the requestee, and trying to get that information of those requests from the community side. Do we have any questions about this piece, kind of reviewing the website?
I think everything looks very clear.
Okay.
love all the pictures and the description of the products in there on the left, the items.
Perfect. So another example I can show you if we kind of click that aids for daily living tab, being able to kind of explore some of the devices. Here's a good snapshot of that blister pack opener that I showed you earlier being like used, and like the different items that exist. Really thinking that a lot of these started from someone in the community being like that. I wish the device existed that could help with holding my book hold open, right? Being able to take that pressure off, and like those different ideas for a lot of the items in our library. So these are good examples too. Not everything needs that build and assembly. So again, if you knew someone who has a 3D printer, if you went down to some of the libraries across Vancouver, like those different things have 3D printers, you could maybe be like, hey, would you be able to print this item? So this is a one-handed, one-row playing cards holder. So if you clicked into the project files for this device, it just needs to be 3D printed. So you could take this card holder STL. Like I said, we can see it, we can download this file, and then you could 3D print this item and have that working item post print, right? And being able to have that item for use cases. So some items require a little bit more of that building, that like those next steps, and some are just kind of those 3D prints and getting different low tech aids to daily living style devices. Other things that you might want to explore on the website. So Maker Wanted, this is where you'd see that like open list of requests and different things like that. Design challenges. This is ones that are already on the website from that use case of someone saying like that, I wish something existed, and being able to kind of follow those conversations. And we still have that submitting a new idea function where you would be able to provide that, like, I wish a device existed that could do X. And then we just have different resources. So you can kind of see our upcoming events, different ways to get involved, different resources and tips and things that we have just kind of shared out for the community, as well as like our whole adaptive gaming tab. If this is something that you want to explore or learn more about, being able to see and kind of get involved that way. We're here to help and we're here to chat and all of those lovely things, I think, is our biggest piece as we support for assistive devices and different things like that.
That's amazing. I think there's a lot of information out there, devices that can be very helpful for the ALS community, such as the assistive switches. Um, that's very, very helpful, and the joysticks.
Yeah. I don't think I actually showed you guys. I had some here and I forgot to talk about it. So our assistive switches with that idea of the 3D printed shell and just I think the cost comparison, which we saw on the screen at the beginning, right? So this one is similar to the Jelly Bean. The Jelly Bean is about $100 and we can 3D print it. You need a cable, a switch, 3 screws, and then just the 3D printed shell. So often for like that $5 to $10 worth of parts to be able to build these devices. And like you said, those different accessibility pieces. So this is my unicorn bubble blower. It turns on by being able to like press her heart in the belly. But we can see from my jack is we already opened this toy up. We modified it so that it still works its standard way, but it'll also work that when I press my switch, that is going to be my thing that's going to start blowing and getting my bubbles out. I haven't run it today. There's my bubbles. It took a little bit of time. But that different ways for accessibility for toys, and then how switches can allow for tablet access, different ways of interacting as well, gaming, all of those different commands.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this will be very, very helpful for ALS community, even the pills and other things that I could see it on the website. I could be just in a daily life.
Yeah.
If there's anybody that has any questions, as I mentioned, you can find the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen. And you can see the Q&A bottom, it's you just click on more, you will be able to see that. So we do have a question there. I have searched the website. It's quite large. I had my brother print a mouse that holds a pencil. The switches are a relief.
Yeah, and something specifically I like to highlight, like we're across Canada. I'm in Calgary, but our head office for Neil Squire is in Burnaby, BC. So With this different thing about like devices or different things like that, like definitely reach out to me. I'm not sure if you could put my email in the chat or something, Alexandra, to share out to them. Because we have maybe some devices who we've built at a school event or these different functions where we might be able to help just kind of get them out across Canada. Again, with those club leaders, we have many clubs across Canada. So these are at the place where they're now in the program and they're like, what do I need to build? So when we can get that community feedback around certain switches or those different things, we love that because then that can kind of feed into the, if I have a build with a grade 7 class in the fall, what do I want to build? Well, I know the switch is popular, like that different community feedback is super helpful. And similarly, if you guys are ever out and about and you want to pop into the Burnaby office and we have some low tech, whether it's us, we have a lot of volunteer makers who love to print and different things like that to be able to get some devices out. I think our next steps here is that we would maybe try to get some low tech items over to you, Alexander, so you can trial and you can show them off because that's a big piece, right? Is that like, well, how do I use this device or how is it going to help me or like what size do I need, right? Like all of those things that happen with assistive tech. So being able to get you some low tech items that you would have on hand to be able to trial with a few people would definitely help that like does this work for me? Like that type of questioning that we often see.
Absolutely. That will be great. Yeah. And,
Yeah,
excellent. I'll get my son on the maker side.
I love to see it. We're here to help for sure when people are getting started, but definitely try to provide it as like that one-stop shop where we're providing as much information out there for any new volunteers to kind of get that idea of how do I get started.
Yeah, that's great. Even if you have, I like that you also have on the website, if they have a new idea that they probably can't find it in there, they can also submit it in there. And they have all the thinkers and trying to make the miracles for that. We have another comment. We should bring this to the support group meetings. Yes. And you work with the assistant tech. Um,
I'm not sure I follow that question. Oh, yeah. So that is an excellent question. Yes. So it's kind of like it's unique how different people can come across the website because you could be an individual who's requesting an item. Sometimes it's maybe clinicians who are trialing items with them. For our toys and switches in particularly, it might be like the BC Children's Hospital, right? Like those different ways of how they're kind of getting devices out. But definitely having different connections for sure. GF Strong also is one of our checkpoint centers where we have that gaming setup. So there are some staff there. They have the equipment, these different things to do their game checkpoint centers. They have a success story and a video on the website that you could explore and kind of see that different work that has been happening there.
That's great. Yes, they do work with there. I'm not sure if anybody has any other questions or any comments before we finished. They have also some, another person said, yeah, for some gaming nights.
Yeah.
That's great. So yeah, you can still enjoy playing your games online. Just to remind everybody that our next webinars are going to be on the second Tuesday of the month at 1 o'clock. And it's going to be about, next month, it's going to be about speed changes in ALS. And the following month is going to be about disability tax credit. So please submit your questions if you have some in advance. We do want to thank you to Shanelle for your time today and for showing us what is available for the ALS community as well. So I will put the contact information also on our website if you're okay with that.
That sounds good.
And then, yes, any other questions, please feel free to let us know.
And yeah, you got my email. I'm more than happy to chat or different things like that. If you reach out, if you forget everything I said and want to like just figure out how to navigate the website, we're here to help for sure.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Yeah. Have a great day, everyone.